All right, let's open this thing up. What we have here isn't just a history lesson. We are literally cracking open a declassified FBI case file. So we're not going to see the Hollywood version of this guy. No, we're going to see him through the eyes of the agents who are watching his every single move. This is the Gambino File.
And this is where it all starts. Not with some big dramatic event, but with this quiet, constant paranoia. This is a quote from Carlos' wife picked up on an FBI wire back in '62. And it just perfectly sets the scene, doesn't it? A world where you're always looking over your shoulder. It tells you this isn't just a crime story. It's about what it's like to live when the walls literally have ears.
Every investigation gets a name, a designation. In this case, it's a number. NY 92657. That's the official code for the FBI's massive, years-long investigation into Carlo Gambino. This was their whole world. So, who was the man at the center of this file? Let's pull up his profile, just like the agents would have. We'll start with the number they knew him by, 334850.
You know, you look at this, and it seems so basic. Hair, brown, graying. But then you see the arrest record goes all the way back to 1930. We're talking Prohibition-era stuff, violations of alcohol tax laws. But then you see that last line, attendance at Appalachian Conclave. Now that was a game changer. This was a huge Mafia summit in upstate New York that got raided by the cops. It proved to the world that this national criminal network was real, and Gambino being there, it put a massive target on his back.
And here's the bottom line, right from the file. They didn't see him as just another criminal. He was known as the boss, the head of a major New York crime family. And once you have that title, you're not just a person of interest anymore. You're a top priority.
So because he was seen as the boss, the FBI kicks things into high gear, and the file takes us to a new location, Miami, 1962. They called it Operation Golden Gate Hotel. Agents are on the ground, the bugs are live, and the tapes are rolling.
This timeline is just fascinating. It's a real peek into the cat-and-mouse game they were playing. Look at that first entry. He's on the phone, but it's all in Italian. The agents are stumped. Classic move. Then you see these little pieces of the puzzle, a quick 2-minute meeting at the airport, a trip to another hotel. On March 9th, they get eyes on him at a restaurant. And get this, he later retells the story in Sicilian. He knows he's being followed. By the 17th, the pressure is clearly getting to him. He's very angry on a call. And then, just like that, he's gone, back to New York.
And if you needed any proof that he knew what was going on, here it is. This is a direct quote from him, picked up by a bug right after that restaurant incident. He's explaining the FBI's exact moves to someone. The law entered with a camera, took a menu and a position. He's not paranoid, he's just observant. The game is completely out in the open.
So, following a guy from a hotel to a restaurant, that'll only get you so far. The FBI knew it. To really understand Gambino's power, they had to follow the money. And that's where the investigation pivots, from the streets into the spreadsheets.
And this leads us to the next big chapter in the file, a company called SGS Associates. This was the FBI's big push to see what was hiding behind Gambino's seemingly legitimate businesses. Now, to get what they were trying to do, you have to understand this term, anti-racketeering. This was the legal tool, the weapon they were planning to use. The whole idea was to prove that a business that looked perfectly fine on paper was actually tied to illegal activity. That was the whole angle. Okay, so here's the company, SGS Associates. The address is prime real estate in New York City. The stated business sounds professional enough, public and labor relations. But then you look at who owns the place. The G, that's Gambino. He owns a third of it. And the second S, a fella named Henry Saltstein, who the file notes is a convicted burglar and bookmaker. Come on, that's not just a red flag, that's a whole parade of them.
And here's what happens when that information gets out. William Levitt was a huge name, the guy who built Levittown, a major client for SGS. This quote from his spokesman is pure panic. You can just feel them scrambling to cut ties as fast as humanly possible. The association was toxic. And yet, here's the kicker. Even with the shady partners and the panicked clients, nothing. 5 separate investigations, federal, state, and local, and not a single criminal charge stuck. Not against the company, not against its owners. It just goes to show you how insulated, how protected these operations really were. It must have been incredibly frustrating for law enforcement.
So if the surveillance hits a wall and the financial investigation goes nowhere, how does a case like this end? Let's flip to the very back of the file, the final entries. The case disposition.
When the criminal charges failed, the government tried a different approach: deportation. The INS starts the process. The FBI even had a strategy for them. Used the fact that he was associating with known criminals to make him lose his bond money. But then, the whole thing just stops. The hearings get pushed back and pushed back again, until finally they're just put off indefinitely. So why?
The answer wasn't in a legal document. It was in a medical report. According to the U.S. Public Health Service, Gambino had evidence of an old heart attack. He had a serious heart condition. By 1965, his health was officially listed as poor. In a strange twist, his own failing heart became his best legal defense.
And remember that bond? That $10,000 the FBI hoped would be their leverage to finally get him? In the end, it was meaningless, a weapon they never even got to use.
And here it is, the end of the line. The final memo, dated July 26, 1965. An investigation that took years of manpower, surveillance, and digging, all ends with this one simple, bureaucratic sentence: hearings are off. Reason? Bad health. A doctor's report checkmated the entire U.S. government.
So, we close the file. NY 92657 is officially inactive. But it leaves you with this question, right? After all of that effort, the story doesn't end in a dramatic courtroom showdown. It just fizzles out in a doctor's office. Is that justice? Or is that just the tape running out? It's something to think about.